Hi everybody, welcome to the show. Today we are doing kind of a part 2 on the cost of homeschooling. A little while ago we did a video answering the question, can you homeschool for free? And if you want to see that video, we'll put the link right up here. Today I'm going to talk about a couple ways to save some money on your homeschooling. Because let's be real, homeschooling can easily become an expensive expense in your household budget, but it doesn't need to be. So before we get started, don't forget to subscribe, click the bell to get notifications, and make sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So the cost of homeschooling can easily get out of hand, but there are some great ways that you can save money on kind of the big ticket items or the big categories, shall we say, in homeschooling. So let's jump right into some of the categories and some ways that we can save some money. So the first category is the biggest one. Let's just start at the top, curriculum. Homeschoolers, I'd say probably about 90% of homeschoolers use curriculum. And curriculum is not necessarily cheap. So obviously you need to look at your curriculum as an investment in your child. That is the whole point, that reason that we're homeschooling, right? Like we're investing our time and our energy and our money into educating our children. That being said, some people have incredibly large homeschooling curriculum budgets, and it's kind of overwhelming for someone like me who likes to do things a little bit on the cheap. So I think the biggest thing to think about when you're picking homeschooling curriculum is A, is it actually going to benefit your kids? And B, remember that better does not necessarily come with a bigger price tag. So I have seen programs out there that, for example, a math program where it's a workbook, a teacher book, and then a whole bunch of manipulatives. If you don't know what a manipulative is, that's a really difficult word to say. It's like little, they're little things that you can use, kids can use and makes math hands-on. So sometimes it's counters, spinners, it's dice. There's all kinds of things you can use. And some of these programs are going for like $500 or $600 for a math program. Do you need all of that? Probably not. Like Alexi's quite happy counting Lego. You don't need counters from a math program that's a $500 program. So there are definitely ways to look at your curriculum and see, what do you actually need? Maybe you really need the workbook, but do you need the program that comes with $200 of manipulatives? Maybe not. Maybe there's other things that you can use in your home that would work just as well, or that you can find a much cheaper option somewhere else. So it's important to actually look at your curriculum. Is it actually going to help your kids? Is it actually going to work in the way that they understand, that they like to learn? And is it interesting? I think that's probably the most important. I've seen some really great curriculums out there that are super interesting and super engaging, and they're not expensive programs. But then you see some programs where the parents are spending hundreds of dollars and it's just not clicking with your kid. That's kind of a waste of money, essentially, right? So you want to make sure that it fits your budget and that it's a great fit for your family. So I think those are probably the two most important things when it comes to picking your curriculum. We are personally looking at some programs that, like our math program for this year, we have a budget of about $25. That's our math program. It's not $500, but it's something that we're comfortable spending our money with. And it's the programs we're looking at, we really think Alexi's going to really do well with. So keep that in mind. There's always a cheaper option out there if it's just too much. So that's great. You can also, if there's a program that you love and it's just way out of your option, look for a used program. I know some people who buy like the workbooks, and they just get notebooks and get their kids to copy it into the notebook so they can reuse the workbooks for all their children down the line, or that they can resell them fairly and recoup some money. So there are a lot of great places where you can get some used curriculum, asking your homeschool groups, and that might be a great way to save, especially if there's a program that you know your kids would love and it's really just outside of your budget. So used curriculum could be a really great option for you. If you're looking for curriculum, you can find some great free ones or relatively inexpensive ones online. There's Pinterest. You can get a lot of printables on Pinterest. You can also go to Teachers Pay Teachers. If you don't know what that is, it is a database. It's free to join, and basically it's elementary and high school teachers make printables and packages and they sell them, and so you can actually search for free. You can search for homeschooling, search by subject, by topic, and you can usually buy like a couple of little packages to put together if you wanted to make your own. But sometimes you can buy a curriculum for like a fraction of the cost, maybe $20 of what you would spend on a more expensive curriculum. So that's another place where you can find some really great and inexpensive curriculum, is on Teachers Pay Teachers. And then of course we do have people who don't use any curriculum. They just use life and experiences. We would call them radical unschoolers. There's also that route. If that's something that interests you, you can definitely take a look at that. We tend to unschool some subjects and use some curriculum from others, which is also, you can blend things, right? Like Alexi loves doing math, and math is a great program that we like to use curriculum for, but we don't really use curriculum for, say, science, because Alexi she's out there exploring, and that's just kind of how we work. So look at maybe some non-curriculum options if the curriculum budget is getting a little tight. So curriculum, first place you're gonna spend money. Second place you're gonna spend money is on school supplies, because how are your kids gonna do any schoolwork if they don't have any school supplies? Now, obviously you'd spend this if you're in the public school. When you're looking at school supplies, I'm talking like pencils, notebooks, printer paper, ink, like all those kinds of things. That's the kind of supplies I'm talking about. My biggest tip that I like to do is I like to do a stock up at the back to school time. So that's usually when you're gonna find the best price on markers and school supplies, paper, pencils. That's definitely a time when you wanna stock up on those kinds of things. Here's my tip. Wait till school actually starts in your area. So like, let's say around here, school starts just after Labor Day. Go like 2 days after Labor Day and there'll be no one in the store. And then you can shop and get all the deals, the back to school deals, but then you don't have to actually deal with any of the back to school crowds. Just thinking on that one. Another place where you can save money is you can definitely go pick up things at discount stores or the dollar store, because really kids don't need brand name markers. The washable no names work just fine. So school supplies, second place you're gonna spend money. The next area you're gonna spend money, probably, especially in our house, is craft supplies, art supplies and craft supplies. Homeschoolers have more time on their hands because they're not sitting in desks for long periods of time. They tend to be a little bit more adventurous, and they like to get a little bit more messy, and they have more time to be creative. So they tend to go through more art supplies and craft supplies than your average family. That being said, again, you can definitely save some money getting craft supplies. We primarily buy our craft supplies at the dollar store because it's cheap. We do stock up on a few things back to school. Certain things come up. Watercolor paints tend to come up back to school time. Pastels tend to come up at back to school time. Certain products do come up at back to school time that you might want to like keep on your list, but primarily we stick with dollar store, because if it gets destroyed or lost, like, who cares? It was probably inexpensive. Another great tip, if there's something that your kids really need, a specific product, I know that some people use homeschool teacher IDs. So if you don't know what that is, some great programs out there, like for example, stores like Michael's, the craft store, they offer a teacher discount. So teachers get 10 to 15%, I think it's 10 or 15% off of their purchases, but you need to have your ID. So I do have friends who have had great experiences using, making their own teacher ID. So they kind of make like a little business card type thing that has their name, homeschool educator on it, their year, you have to make one every year because it has to have an end date. And then they put their picture and a logo of some kind, and maybe the name of their homeschool, if their homeschool has a name. And that's what they use. They print it, they laminate it, and they take it to different stores, and they end up getting their homeschool the same discount as teachers. So that's a really interesting thing to consider, that having a little ID can really go a long way. And if you're wondering about naming your homeschool, some places do require your school to have names, but if you're interested in finding out some names, we do have a homeschool name generator. So we will put the link below and you can click on that and it'll help you come up with some ideas for naming your own homeschool school. Another place where a lot of homeschoolers put a pretty big section of their budget is on books and reading material. Like I said, you can see behind us, we have lots of books. We love books, we read at least 1 or 2 every day, if not more than that. And books are just such a great way to open up kids to so many things, whether it's stories, learning about a specific thing, math, like you can learn anything, pretty much anything from a book. So homeschoolers do tend to put a lot of money into their books, especially if it's a book they can use for multiple children. So here are some ways that you can save money on reading materials. So if we're gonna buy books, we love to look at buying books from department stores. So for example, things like Winners, Marshalls, Walmart, Target. These are the kind of stores where they tend to sell books a little bit cheaper than cover cost. And bonus, they usually have a clearance section. So I've been able to get a lot of great, amazing books from their clearance section for like $2, and the cost of the book is like $25. So that's a great place to start looking if you have some, just as you're going through, because I don't know, I like to shop at Winners. When we go through, I get to browse, I always browse the kids section. Sometimes you can find some really great books. Another place that we like to buy books, which surprises people, is we buy a lot of books from the dollar store. Our local Dollarama, especially, I find the Dollaramas tend to have really good book selections. They have a book section, and we do buy some stuff from there, but where I find they do really well is on seasonal books. And those you actually have to go, not in the book section, you go over to the seasonal section, and you can find them there, usually on the bottom shelves. And so I've gotten a lot of my like Christmas, spring, Easter, fall, Thanksgiving, Halloween, like any of those kind of like festive books, I tend to find them at the dollar store. And I mean, I found some gorgeous books at the dollar store. Like I picked up a couple books that should have been almost $30, and they were at the dollar store for $2 or $3. So that is the place where we tend to buy a lot of like those kind of seasonal books. And like I said, they come in at a great price. So make sure you check out those areas in your local dollar store. Now, obviously the last place is you don't have to buy books at all. You can easily borrow them. It's kind of intimidating to go to a library. So what I've actually been doing is I've been putting books on hold. This is kind of I don't know why I never did this before, but you can use the library hold system, and you can kind of put in the titles you want, if you have titles, or search by themes or genres or whatever you're looking for, and hold, and then they'll actually send them to your local branch. So which is great for us because we live in a large geographic area, so it's very spread out, but it's small towns kind of all connected. So sometimes our local library is very small, so it only has a fraction of the books that are available in our city. And so we can just put in titles, and they'll like go to the other libraries, pick up the books, and then ship them to us, and we get them for this typical, 21 days to read them, and then we return them. And that's a great way to pick up some books. Usually it does take about a week for the books to get to our library, but we kind of do like a 3 weeks, then I do like a week off where I order new books, and then we can do 3 weeks again. So basically it's like 1 order a month, which is a great way to kind of rotate, books in your home anyway. So make sure you use your library. It's a great asset. Our favorite place to spend money on homeschooling is actually on field trips and outings, because let's be honest, it's one of our favorite things to do with our kids. And it's one of the reasons that we personally chose to homeschool our kids. We wanted them to be able to go out into the world and learn from actually being in the world instead of just sitting at a desk and reading about it theoretically. We personally try to take our kids on at least 1 field trip a month, somewhere where they've never been, somewhere where we know there's going to be educational things happening. We like to take them to different parks and zoos and museums and science centers, and that's just part of our homeschooling. That's something that we put into our homeschool budget, and that's a cost that we know we're going to have. We do some homeschool trips that are actually kind of more like family traditions, so we might go to the pumpkin patch or to a Santa Claus parade or something like that. But those are all experiences that we think really enhance our homeschooling and our kids' lives. Some ways to save money on homeschooling field trips and outings. You can definitely look for free days or cheap days or half days. This is a great way to do more for less. So some places will do like free Monday at the museum, or 50% off on Tuesdays if you come after a certain time. So those are ways that you can easily save money on places that you just really want to take your kids. Consider getting a membership. So for example, Alexi loves science. She's just like my little science nerd. And so we are looking at getting a membership to our local science center. How that actually works out cheaper for us is that the cost of a membership works out to almost 2 trips. So for the cost of membership, we could actually go unlimited times throughout the year. So sometimes you have to look at how many times are you going to go somewhere, and maybe a membership is actually worth your price. And if you're not sure if you're going to like a place, you can often upgrade your ticket. So let's say you went to your local aquarium, you paid your admission for the day, you go and you see it and your kids are like, they love it, and you're like, I could definitely see us coming back here. You can often go and upgrade your ticket, which means you're just going to pay the difference between your ticket and your membership price. So let's say it's $100 for a membership and your ticket was $30, you would only pay the $70 that's left. So that's a great idea if you're going to try a place out, is just pay for your admission and then upgrade later on to see if it's actually something your kids are really going to enjoy. You can look for some places that actually have homeschool programs. So our science center has a homeschool program where it's $40 for the year. The parent gets in free. They do one day a month. It's one Monday a month where you go and they have all the scientists who kind of lead a little lesson or a little activity. And then you get to just explore the science center. And then you get another free day for the month, each month that they have this program running. So for $40, the cost of a membership for our family is almost $200. But for this $40, Zoe's under 2, so she's free. I get in free because I'm with Alexi, and Alexi's $40 for the year. So I just saved myself a fortune by just signing up for their homeschool programs. And there's a lot of places that do these awesome homeschool programs. So make sure you ask if there's a place that you want to go frequently, if they have a homeschool discount or a program, because that's a great way to save some money. You can also look at your local homeschool co-ops. So some co-ops and homeschool groups, one of the things they'll do is they'll actually book field trips because they get like a group rate. So if you are a member of a local co-op or you're looking at joining one, that can sometimes be a benefit, is that you get a reduced rate. You get a little homeschool discount because you're going in such a large group. Or you can just grab a bunch of friends and say, we're going, and use a large group discount then. So again, large groups get better rates. And so if you can get some people together to go on a field trip, you might actually save some money there too. Kind of the last big area where you're probably going to spend money homeschooling your kids is on extracurriculars and classes. And so many homeschoolers do this, so many people do this. They sign their kids up for soccer and gymnastics, hockey, music lessons, art lessons, Spanish lessons. Like, there's so many extracurriculars out there that you could sign your kids up for. And I personally think they're great. As long as your kids are still getting a lot of time to relax and to play, a couple classes is a great way to really enhance your homeschooling. And it's a great way to really individualize it. So like I said, Alexi's really into science. She loves going and doing all of like the hands-on kind of engineering type science. She's not so much into like animals or biology, but she really likes like building and engineering. So we can go to this science homeschool program and it works for us. Whereas, Zoe, maybe she's more interested in animals at the zoo. Maybe she's more interested in ballet. So we can usually, with homeschooling, you can customize your kids' extracurriculars to fit their interests and what they really want to learn and what they're really interested in and what they love. And when they love something, they're going to learn about it and read about it, and you can often use that to really push their learning and enhance their learning. So homeschoolers love classes, but how do you save money on classes? So for us, we always make sure that if we're signing our kids up for anything new, we always look for classes that have short terms, so 8 to 10 weeks. We want to make sure that when our kids sign up, they finish their term. They don't have to continue once the term is done, but they do have to use their whole term. So you don't want to have your kids sign up for a program that runs from September to June and find out in October they hate it. So looking for smaller terms is just a great way to make homeschooling the cost a little bit easier, because if they really hate ballet, then you don't have to continue after your 8 weeks, right? You're almost halfway done, finish off your term, and then you get to move on. So that's a great thing to look for, is make sure you pick small term classes. Look for activities that have low startup costs. So for example, let's compare gymnastics to hockey. Gymnastics, Alexi has a unitard, like a little leotard thing, and that's it. Hockey has skates, pads, jerseys, helmets, sticks, mouth guards. So the cost just to start is already significantly higher. There are some other great activities out there that are really low cost. Another great example is if you're taking music lessons, you can get instruments used, or you can look at instruments that are a little bit lower cost. So for example, maybe you look at getting a ukulele instead of a guitar and taking ukulele lessons. Saves money. Ukuleles are about $50 new, whereas a guitar is a couple hundred. There are some programs that are really cool that allow you to volunteer instead of pay for classes. So I know locally there is a Ukrainian dance class, and they have their price, but depending on how much you volunteer, it actually cuts the cost down. So if you volunteer, I think it's 20 hours throughout the year, your cost is $0. If you volunteer 10 hours, you owe them 50% of the lessons. So if money is really tight, you could try something like that. So I think some of the volunteer things that they have when they have events, running the ticket booth, running the concession stand, stuff like that. So that's a great way to save some money if you can find a program that runs like that, where you can volunteer and get a reduced rate, which is great on your budget. And it's also really good for your kids to see you volunteering for their organization. And lastly, there's some really great programs out there that are totally free. You can definitely look at free classes online. I know people love Khan Academy. They love Duolingo for languages. There's even some places where you can take like online music lessons, and they are either free or at a greatly reduced cost of actually taking them in person. So that is another place where you can look at saving a little bit of money on extracurriculars and extra classes. So if you guys have any more tips on how to save money on homeschooling, I'd love to hear them. I'm a little bit of a cheapskate. I love a great deal, and I'm always looking for ways to save some money. So leave that in the comments below. Let me know how you save money on homeschooling, and I will see you guys really soon. Bye.
If you like what you saw, please subscribe to our channel and click on the bell to get notifications when we upload our latest videos.
Give us a thumbs up and don't forget to leave us a comment. We'll see you next week for more activities, adventures, and lifelong learning.
Bye!